So I'm delighted and honoured to have with me today Tom Goodwin from Mountain Laurel Chalets. Welcome, Tom. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Heather. It's certainly a real treat to be with you today.
Well, I've been doing a lot of research, as I always do, and came across podcasts and articles, and then, of course, the list of your 10 mistakes that you contributed to Brooke Fouts' LinkedIn post. You know, he now has something like 700 or 800 of these, well, 70 or 80 lists, I think it is, which constitutes 700 to 800 mistakes. And it's a joy to read through them, because as a property manager, and I'm sure you see this, it's always good to see that everybody else is going through exactly the same thing as you are.
Yes, I think I've made all 700 mistakes.
yes, me too. I read through those and you're nodding. Oh gosh, yes.
Well, it is so great that we're opening up and being vulnerable and sharing, and it's, as opposed to the facade and everything's perfect, but just to share the things we've learned that make us better.
Exactly. I said in the introduction to this episode that I loved the transparency and the rawness of some of these contributions, because I remember, I mean, your business has been going for 50 years plus. I was in my business for 20 years. And I remember way back at the beginning that nobody wanted to share a thing. Nobody, you couldn't ask a question and you get this wall of silence. But now everybody is so open and transparent, and it's great. So, Tom, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, but the business, because it has, with 50 years, it has such a rich and awesome history.
Yes, and I am so grateful that the way my life has been orchestrated, and the woman I met and fell in love with, unbeknownst to me, was the daughter of some pioneers in the vacation rental industry. So Mountain Laurel Chalets was started in 1972 in Gatlinburg. At that point, it was the third vacation rental business. Now it is the oldest, the only remaining. And we are second generation and preparing for third generation. And everyone knows the statistics of success of second and third generations, and we're hoping to beat those odds. And that has been exciting to continue the 51-year history. But Mountain Laurel Chalets began really out of a heart of hospitality and caring for others in the community. My mother-in-law, Dot Egley, and father-in-law, Ralph Egley, moved to Gatlinburg because they loved the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. They got engaged on top of Mount LeConte. They were married, and they had lived elsewhere in Tennessee, and moved to Gatlinburg to start their family in 1958. So very exciting legacy. But by 1972, they were very entrenched in the community, and hotels would sell out, and there was no way to communicate to people that there were no rooms available. And so Wilma Maples, or owner of the Gatlinburg Inn or the Mountain Inn, would call Susan's parents and say, "Do you have a room available? Because we have a couple here, they have nowhere to stay." So my wife and her sister would move out of their bedroom, which was 2 queen canopy beds with an attached bath and a sliding door to the deck. They would move out and they would provide that room. And so they were a B&B before B&B existed, and they were just helping out the hotel owners. And then it kind of spurred into, they were one of the first homes built up Ski Mountain Road in Wiley Oakley and Gatlinburg, if people are familiar with that area. They were not paved roads at that time, so they always had 4-wheel drives. They lived year-round. Very few people lived year-round. So the other people that owned their own personal vacation homes would give their keys to my in-laws and say, "Would you watch over my home in case a water line breaks, or check the home and for security and safety?" And then Dot and Ralph thought, well, there's all these empty homes and there's people that need places to stay. So they started asking those homeowners if they would be interested in renting their homes while they weren't there. And they purchased their first home, and they called it Mountain Laurel House. And then that birthed the business in 1972. The first rental was July 1st for $20 a night for a 2-bedroom. And that began the journey. And they continue to acquire other homes, build homes, And a lot of those original homesteaders in the area would pass away, and they would give a first right of refusal to my in-laws to purchase the home. So they began purchasing homes as well. I wish we could purchase those homes at that same price today. That was a
Yes.
great business strategy. And before you know it, by the 80s, they were advertising 3 times a year in Southern Living. That was the only advertising. And there were members of the local Chamber of Commerce, and they were doing very well, and continued to do that. And then I got involved with the family when I met my wife in 1991. We married in 92. And she said, oh, by the way, we have some homes that are part of the family that we do in this business. So I got involved just as a family member and a homeowner and an investor in the properties. And then by 2012, bringing this whole story together, how I got involved was that there was some difficulties in the management and the finances that my in-laws were not aware of through the current management. So we started asking questions and realized we need to get involved in this. And the family asked if I would serve for about 6 months as the general manager to straighten things out. And it took 18 months to get us out of the wrong curve and towards a profit. And in that period of time, I fell in love with the hospitality and the business and the people in the community. And now my wife and I, my in-laws have passed away in that time. And so the timing worked out really well for our family in the succession to a second generation. We righted the ship, became profitable, and my wife and I are now the sole owners of the business. Family is still involved by owning several of the properties that we manage. And then we took a huge turn in 2016 on November 27th. The Gatlinburg wildfires came through. And in a matter of 2 hours, we lost half of our business. Wow. 50 of our, actually 48 of our properties, 9 of our personal homes. And that began a resetting and a reestablishing where we were going to go, towards the future.
That is an amazing, fabulous story. What a legacy. And then to come to the wildfire after you'd come so far. And still go forward. It's interesting. I have Sharon Michi joining me in a few weeks to talk about the hurricane and her company, Cottages and Castles of Sanibel. And I know she's going to tell this similar story about sort of rising from the ashes, although slightly different from a hurricane. But yeah, what a great story. But I want to ask you about the values that your in-laws sort of instilled in you and the legacy of the company.
Yeah, my in-laws were amazing people, really driven by their faith and driven by hospitality and caring for others. And so in 2012, when I took over the business, I thought we have such an untapped story here that's not being told. So I hired a brand consulting company, and I had done branding work nationally before this. So this was right in my wheelhouse. And we invested a lot of money to capture what are the core values and rebranding, not really rebranding, fully branding the essence and the story of who we were. And in that process, we really did a deep dive of qualitative studies and quantitative studies and research and interviews. And we distilled it to 3 core values that really have guided the company. So they weren't new core values. We were just expressing what was already true. And those are 3 things that we believe. So we believe that family matters. Secondly, we believe in exceeding expectations. And thirdly, we believe we are generous stewards. And the family matters really extends to not only our guests, that seems to be the most obvious one, but to our employees and our owners and our vendors and anyone else that we work with. We want to have meaningful, honest, trusted, vulnerable, transparent relationships with those people as is appropriate. And so family drives us. In fact, our tagline is Mountain Laurel Chalets, where your family is our company. And that was derived by my mother-in-law was the queen of hospitality. And whenever anyone came over, they felt like the most special company they ever had. Name tags, or placed cards at the dinner table, fresh flowers at the bedside, gifts waiting for them. We loved coming home to my in-laws because we always got gifts, and it was really a sense of being a special company to them. So that's what our guests had experienced and our owners had experienced. So we really created that Family Matters. Exceeding expectations is going above and beyond with surprise and delight. And then the last one, being generous stewards, is that we want to care for our community, the environment, the resources that are entrusted to us by owners. These are many times their most valuable investment property or investment asset. We want them to have a great return. We want to steward that. We don't own these properties, but we want them to really produce great stewardship for them. And there's also a sense of incredible generosity that my in-laws instilled within each one of us, to give to others, to give to worthy causes, to give back to the community. And it is a little embarrassing how generous they were, but none of that ever really was wasted giving. It was an investment in other people's lives.
Yeah. I want to step back a little bit to something you said before, just about the fires, the Gatlinburg fire. How did you recover? I know that could be the topic of an entirely separate podcast, but I think people will be thinking this. Well, you lost 9 of your own homes, and it was devastating to the community. How do you come back from something like that?
Well, I would say, Heather, our core values drove us in how we responded initially, and it took a matter of days to find out what we had lost, to even know that our office was still standing. And so about 3 days afterwards, we did see on the news that our office was there, but the 8 acres all around our office were destroyed. The support walls, the railroad ties that backed up on the end of our property were burned through. The PVC pipes were melted on the side of our building, but our building survived. And that our building is right as an entry point to the area where the most devastation was, up in the Chalet Village area. So we immediately responded by, how do we take care of people? How do we be a part of this community? And we rallied with several churches and other individuals that made meals. We had water, we had equipment, supplies, we had bathrooms available to all the emergency responders, the National Guard that came in, all the utility people. And so we responded immediately with serving others. And I think that was really instilled in our life. It's just essence of, how do we respond? And it continued on with, we had 48 homes that we lost. So these are owners that are devastated, their properties. What do we do? How do we handle insurance? And so we were really the forerunners for them. We handled all their excavation. We contracted out all of getting the house or the land and the plot ready. And we coached them through how to file for insurance and how to work in that. So it was a hard recovery, but in 2012, we were facing a very difficult financial time that no one really knew about. But the financial books were not in order when I took over, and we were losing money. So I knew what it was like to lose money, and I knew what it was like to invest in the future. So in 2012, we took out loans and we were investing towards the future. And in 18 months, we became profitable. So we thought, okay, through the fires, we can press through this, and we'll experience loss. But we hadn't spent all our money that we had earned from 2012 to 2016. And so we had money in the bank. We had the ability to move forward for 18 months. And we served our owners not knowing if they would even come back to our program or rebuild, sell their lots. Many of them sold their lots and said, we're done. This is too emotionally difficult for us. And now those are RBO homes, and they're not on our program. But we did what we felt was right in serving others, exceeding their expectations, treating them like family, and giving back to others. And it took about 18 months, again, to turn the business around and become profitable. But we had to scale down, from 23 employees to 12 employees, because when you have 120 homes or 100 homes, then you have 48 homes. There's a lot of operations that need to be taken care of, and 48 homes doesn't cover that. So we really had to begin to build and to grow. But we found a real niche and spot that at 60 homes, we're very profitable. And so that allows us to just scale and grow. And we're up to 70 now. We want to move to 120, but we want to do that responsibly with the right amount of employees, the right amount of support, and the resources that we can keep what we call our limited edition experience for our owners and our guests.
Yeah, we're going to let's go with that. Let's tell me more about limited edition, because we've heard it from Matt Landau. He's been espousing limited edition for quite a number of years now, and it's always wonderful to talk to operators and managers who apply this philosophy to their businesses. And I'd love to hear how you do this and how it impacts on your guests and your owners.
Yes, a huge shout out to Matt Landau for this. I remember sitting in a meeting, and I guess it was the San Antonio VRMA conference, and Matt was sharing about the four components of limited edition: family, local, specialized, or surprise and delight, and then specialized. And I thought, that's who we are. So it was so nice that someone else had already identified the core of who we were. And I latched onto this, and I said, Matt, this is, I want to grow in this. I want to champion this and champion others. And so I was so fortunate to become friends with Matt and to have those connections and to network. And that happened at my first VRMA conference in San Antonio. No better person that I could meet. So when we had a way to identify what limited edition was and what we were, we just began to grow and to dig deep and to think, how can we improve? We are family owned. We are local. And the areas that really energize me is the surprise and delight. And we're specialized just to the Smoky Mountain area. So the area to grow in was, how do our guests come away with this sense of, oh, I can't believe you did that, or you remembered, or that was so much, so it's extra. With vast competition in the Smoky Mountains, 23,000 cabins and condos, not even including hotels, and we have 70. It's a small percentage, but we want all of our return and repeat guests to experience that limited edition experience, and our employees and our owners. So all of these core values just don't apply to our one audience, but they apply to all of our audiences.
A couple of things I want to touch on there. One of them is the really impressive statistics that you have on repeat guests, and want you to share that.
Yeah, we have around 50% of our guests are repeat guests. But I think the most exciting is that 20% of our revenue and our guests bookings come from people who have stayed with us 5 or more times. Mm-hmm. And 5 is the low watermark. There are people who have stayed with us 30, 40, 50 times in the 51-year history. They're bringing second generation, third generation, celebrating 30th, 40th anniversaries. And they're what we call our family first members. So when you stay with us 5 or more times, which I don't know that I've ever stayed at one other company or hotel, specific hotel, brand of hotel, yes, but no vacation rental company 5 or more times. But we have people coming back 3 and 4 times a year. And Gatlinburg is a drivable location. It's very easy to get to, and all seasons are beautiful, incredible. But we have a family first program, which is our unique niche in a very competitive market. And people just say, I won't rent with anyone else, because we have history, and emotions come with that history and that experience that they tie to a brand, and they tie to the people and everything, about the company. So our goal is to increase our family first members and those that come 5 or more times.
Tell us about the surprise and delight, though.
Okay.
I want to hear how you surprise and delight, yes. not just all guests, but particularly your repeat guests and the family first guests.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say that we have 2,300 members of the Family First program. So
that's 2,300 who have stayed 5 or more times.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's thank you Southern Living advertising in the 1980s, because that's when it started. You can't do that overnight. And so I have inherited an incredible legacy. So for our guests, we find out why they're coming. What are they celebrating? Mm-hmm. And they love to tell us. So whether it's a 4th birthday or a 30th anniversary or a final hospice visit, we want to be involved and engaged with them. So we use an app called BombBomb, and we do personalized video greetings for every guest before they come. Wow. Welcoming them to their home, introducing us, how we can help them, calling them by name, and celebrating what occasion they're coming for. So that goes out 2 or 3 days before they arrive. And then when they do arrive, if they're having a special occasion, we're making sure that the home is fitted with those elements. Our go-to is the Donut Fryer. Is a 51-year company in Gatlinburg. Best donuts in the world, and I'm a donut aficionado. And we do their homemade cinnamon bread, and we place those in the homes with a personalized greeting. Now, if there's birthdays or anniversaries, we do balloons and banners and, any extra elements for that. Our Family First members all receive a gift as a part of coming, and those are our T-shirts that we have to keep redesigning and adding new ones because guests will say, well, I have 20 T-shirts in my, they wear them all the time, but we always are looking for other ways to do surprise and delight.
I think that is amazing. I did pulling something out of the Unlock podcast where Matt was talking to you, and I picked up that you spend 90% of your marketing budget on guest experience rather than on Google ads and Facebook ads and other spend that
Yes.
people would naturally assume would come out of the marketing budget.
Yes. And, that was right in the middle of COVID when we were overextended with, stays, and we didn't have to invest all the money in the Google ads. I would say it's about 70-30 now,
Mm-hmm.
and well worth it. And we haven't decreased the amount that we do for the specialized for the guests. We just increased what we're doing in our SEO and so forth because of obviously the market has changed since 2020 and 2021. But a lot of those gifts and the personalization, we feel like it's worth the $10, $20, $30, $50 a visit to personalize that for the guest.
Yes, I love that, the whole idea of knowing your guest. And it's not difficult, is it? It's just asking some questions. I had years ago at a VRMA conference, the headliner, the keynote speaker was John DeJulius. And his book, The Customer Service Revolution, has been, it's on my bookcase. I dip into it every other day. It's tagged and covered with notes. But he talks about exactly that, getting to know your guest. And he talks Ford, which is family, occupation, what they do for relaxation and their desires and dreams. And he says, if you can find out those things about your guests, then they will become customers for life.
And they want to tell you. Everyone likes talking about themselves, right? So I've been talking most of this podcast. We all enjoy talking about our story and sharing it. And how do you bring that out of guests? And in this highly technology-driven hospitality industry, we want to use technology, but we cannot lose the human touch and the humanity that comes with being known. And part of that is people's names, just using their names and identifying them. Something we're trying and exploring to do, and took this from an Unreasonable Hospitality, another great hospitality book. But Google searching the guests as they come to know what they look like, so when they come in the office, you're anticipating them. We do a Christmas card exchange. My wife came up with this idea. Everyone sends family pictures in their Christmas cards. So we asked all of our Family First and all of our followers on Facebook and our guests to send us their family photo or family Christmas card, holiday card. And we drew one and gave them a free 2-night stay. So we received over 200 photos of our guests' families. And we scanned those, and we're going to be adding them to their their contact form through our reservation. So there's just a lot of ways that you can do that. We're creating a cookbook. So all of our owners are creating their favorite recipes and their memories of their homes. And we're asking our guests to do a cookbook, and we'll be publishing that this summer. But just ways to personalize and bring it down to a family sharing level that people would experience.
So we've been talking a fair bit about guests and experiences for guests, but I want to move on to owners because owners, obviously, the lifeblood of our business. And one thing that I have noticed, particularly loved, that you get your owners together and you entertain them, you educate them, but they are part of your family as well.
Yes, and this is something my in-laws started over 40 years ago. We're uniquely located in the Chalet Village area. That's where the 90% of our homes are located. And historically, it's the oldest vacation rental part of Gatlinburg.
Mm-hmm.
So that neighborhood association has an annual meeting that people come to the last Saturday of April. So my in-laws thought, well, people are coming in for Saturday. What are they doing Friday night? Let's have them for dinner. And so they would have a dinner and a meeting and just go over, I went to several of those before I started running the business. What do we do with firewood? What about boar bees? And how do we keep trash? And just basic questions that people would have. Now, because of technology, we send out every 2 weeks a thing called the living room to our owners, which gives them updates on all of our technology, advancements, improvements, questions, and concerns that they would have. So our owners are getting a touch point with us every 2 weeks. So
how do you do that, Tom? Is it just a written
No,
piece,
our marketing director, Jordan Watts, takes all the data and the information and the content and creates it through a Canva video. Very simple, easy to use. So it's written out words, and we insert videos into that. We insert a lot of content, so it makes it fresh and exciting for our owners. But I realized that I'm not communicating with my owners enough. We're being reactive as opposed to proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a proactive way every 2 weeks, not overwhelming. 5 minutes, a 5-minute video that has content and a personal greeting from me in one of their homes, or an explanation of our revenue management or our house cleaning, celebrating one of our owners or celebrating one of our employees. It just keeps it, really familiar. So, but our annual meeting then, we've really pivoted and changed it to more of a celebration time. And so we call it a night on Ski Mountain, and we had it the last Friday of April this year. And I decided, well, let's just do kind of a mini conference or gathering and help educate our owners, and also open this to invite all the owners in the area. So there's there's right in our central area, I think 1,500 homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sent out a Facebook post, we sent out personal postcards inviting owners, and we had 140 people come to our night on Ski Mountain. We hosted it in the newly refurbished Mountain Ski Lounge, fabulous new ownership of a 50-year-old family company. They allowed us to host it up there. The president CEO of Mountain came, as well as the mayor came. The mayor of Gatlinburg came to greet us. David Angotti was our keynote speaker from StaySense to share about trends. Our number one concern our owners was having: why are our bookings down? Why is the percentage lower than it was in the last 2 years? We know all those answers, but to help our owners and to educate them. So David did a great job. Travis Wellborn with the Hunter Collection came because we're members of the Hunter Collection. Trey Campbell with Explory came because we use Explory as well. We had a comedian to end the night, a family comedian. During the business portion, we brought the kids to the other side of the lounge and had games and coloring books and things for the kids to do. But the comedian was family friendly, of course, because we're a family friendly business. And he finished out the night. We also had a prodigy banjo player from Dollywood come and entertain us as well. So it was an exciting night. We had 140 people. 60 of those were our owners that came. Mm-hmm. We'd usually have those 60 owners at round tables and have a meal and then share information. But we also had about 50 potential owners come. Residents of the community, people are doing it themselves, maybe with other companies, what's going on with Mountain Laurel. Mm-hmm. And they were intrigued by the content of what we were sharing. And then we also had our cleaners come, our maintenance staff, all of our employees, so they got to meet them, and then the VIPs. So I think it's unusual. Most people think, I would never want my owners all to be in the same room, because they would talk to each other. And I thought, well, then maybe you need to check your core values or I don't know. I just think it's so natural to have all of our owners together. Mm-hmm. We have a great retention of our owners. I know some other companies think of a 25% attrition. We don't lose our owners. And I think we've lost, in my 12 years leading the company, apart from people selling their homes and leaving, that's an obvious, loss that you can anticipate. But I think we've had 2 homeowners that were related that were disgruntled that left our program, and everyone else has stayed. And so we're not many, but we don't need a lot to do that. So 23,000 cabins. I don't want to have 500 homes. I want to go to sleep at night and be profitable in my business, provide a legacy for people. And I think that smaller niche of, our initial goal is thinking, let's get back up to 120 and see if we can still maintain this limited edition experience for our guests and our owners.
I love that idea of getting them together, but also to invite, and this is one I haven't heard before, open it out to other owners, because that's just a great business move.
Yes, I've followed up with every one of those owners, and there's 40 contacts that I have. The Sunday after the meetings, I met with a couple with 3 homes that wants to come on our program. So we're in the process of transitioning those 3 homes. Several others that are just intrigued. We're watching you. We're interested, and I'm going to keep those relationships open. So I think this was a great investment, not only for our owners, but for just serving the community and helping the RVOs. Because if someone is renting by themselves and doing it from a distance, and the guest has a poor experience, that impacts all of us. And you see all of that on Facebook, and I think we're going to be facing a time coming up quickly that those RVOs that thought during COVID it's a great experience, they're thinking this is too much work, because it is a lot of work. But to have the systems in place and to be available to catch some of that, the fruit dropping from the trees, we want to be available and hopefully grow to that 120 within the next few years.
Yeah, that is just brilliant. I love that. I hope that people listening are taking this on board. I mean, if I was still involved with my company, that is something that I would start to consider. Our business was similar in terms of values. In 20 years, we rarely lost an owner, except for sale of the property or they're moving back into it. And we did try on occasions to get them together. Ours were a little different. They were a bit more widely spaced out. But we started a Facebook group for our owners. So here's your own Facebook group, go say hello to each other, and we'll just pop in occasionally. And it never really got as off the ground as I would have liked it to. But I think if I was back there again, I'd probably be nurturing that, because I think they do. It's a bit like managers getting together and networking. I think owners are more comfortable now with networking with each other.
There's great synergy that comes with that. We have owners that have been with us for 4 years that sat with 2 couples that were not owners, and they were doing the sales.
Yes.
Of why you should be involved. And also in this meeting, we give out awards for best social media presence from our owners, most improved cabins, certificates for however they're doing remodeling or adding. So we celebrate the improvements, and hopefully that will be contagious. We have a memorial award in honor of my in-laws for the 1 owners that live up to our core values, and it's a real coveted special award. It's a tearjerker, really, when these people realize I'm involved in something that's bigger than myself, and it's a real special thing. So,
yeah. Oh, this is such a great conversation. I know it could go on and on, but I need to go back to these list of 10 mistakes. Your list of 10 mistakes, I will include your list, if that's okay with you, on the show notes, so people can check those out. But the one that I wanted to focus on, because we're sort of touching on something we haven't talked about yet, and that's really your technology. And it was definitely one of my mistakes that I didn't word mine as elegantly as you did. I think I said, we just spent too much on the cheapest stuff and didn't look at how, at excellence in the future. But you said, I sometimes misunderstood the value of investing with excellence in mind. I was always looking for a bargain, because I went, yes, that's exactly what I was doing. You get what you pay for. I'm learning more and more that spending resources on competent staff, helpful tools, and quality services pays off in the long run. Have you got an example of a time when you actually did that? You cut costs and realized later it just wasn't the best economic decision you could have made?
Yes. I am not a big car guy. We provide our vehicles for all of our inspectors and our maintenance. And so we were doing auctioned trucks that, we got it for $1,500 or we got it for $3,500. It was great. And we were always having extra expenses and time and being pulled away. And so 2 years in, maybe it was 3 years in, we just bought a new fleet of Jeeps and we put them on lease and, or payments, and just took the expense. And then we never had car issues. Our employees felt like, wow, I'm driving a great vehicle. It's reliable, it's branded, and that was a very small thing. Um, there are other elements too that I try to help our owners realize. You can scrimp and you can buy your window treatments at the local box store, or you can get something that's spend your money specifically. And decor is huge. It's really important. And I've tried to decorate Skimp and all the thrift stores and everything that I would go to, as opposed to hiring someone that is excellent with that. It's interesting. The homes that we spent the money on for professional design were all selected by the Hunter Collection. So and two others that an owner was very gifted in that as well. So it pays to invest more. Technology. We built our own website. I didn't know that website companies existed because I wasn't involved in the conference world and the networking. Because as you said earlier, we had more of we didn't share our secrets. We didn't share our information. Our competition was the enemy. And we were the experts, and we knew more than they did, or they were stealing from us. So it's a very, I call a scarcity mentality. And I needed to replace that with an abundance mentality. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of space for others to succeed. There are 23,000 rental opportunities in the Smoky Mountains. There are probably 300 management companies and another 1,000 upstarts of RBOs in our community. There's plenty of room, and we can share all of our best resources and tools. And back to the question of, I tried to skimp on the branding, and then I hired a marketing company, and it was expensive when we weren't making any money. We invested $50,000 in the research and the rebranding, or the rebirth of who we were as a company, has paid itself off in spades. It's beautiful imagery, marketing, all the elements, the colors, the tone, the feel, the voice, all of those things coming from experts and really capturing the essence of who we were was well worth that. There's plenty of other examples of, let's just hire the cheapest entry-level employee, and what do you get? The cheapest entry-level employee. So, we, especially in this market, we're trying to, be much more generous and competitive with our compensation with our employees as well.
Yes, I think it's so worthwhile, just really thinking 5 years ahead with every purchase. What's this going to look like in 5 years' time? Are we going to need to replace it? Probably. If you buy the cheapest, it's going to have to be replaced, or even 3 years or 2 years' time.
Yes, and we have to replace all of our Jeeps now. So it's like, okay, let's go do that. We get, of course, I'd love Land Rovers or something like that, but that's not reasonable. So
you've mentioned that you are a relatively new conference goer. You didn't go in the past, and it was interesting because I've been going to VRMAs for many years, and I missed you. I would love to have met you years ago. But what changed your mind about attending?
Well, we were involved in the Tennessee Hospitality Association and the local lodging association, but I didn't realize there was this larger network. I just was unaware. And Amy Highnote brought VRM Intel to Gatlinburg, and I thought, well, I have no excuse. I'm going to go to the convention center, 200 people, and see what this is about. And I was like, you are kidding me. This is amazing. And met some vendors that we're now working with for our website and our PMS, and met some other local owners. And I thought, I've missed out. And so then we joined VRMA, met Matt Landau, met Steve Schwab, met Brooke Fouts, went to smaller retreats or Keystone Retreat, and it is paid off in spades. It's amazing, the networking. And what you said, I think we're in a new era of abundance as opposed to scarcity. And we want to be a blessing to other people. We want to share our best practices, or like Brooke says, our mistakes. It's so vulnerable. And I think it's a beautiful thing of what is happening within our industry. And it's a sense of community. And it's an extension of our heart for hospitality and caring for other people. And honestly, before it was competition was a threat, or we never shared our best practices. So I'm not there completely within our community. There are not other players that are coming to the table. I'm really good friends with Lauren Madewell of Antebellum Cabin Rentals, and we
Mhm.
share our best practices and ideas and network. And I want her to succeed. When a home that we visit is not really right for our program and it's right for theirs, I'm going to refer
Mhm.
them to champion them. It's because they are local, they are family owned, they've been in business over 25 years. I'm honest, I am skeptical of a lot of the RBOs, and I think I need to. I saw someone wrote, I should have befriended, David Angotti wrote on his 10 mistakes, um, should have befriended more RBOs, an individual, and he regretted not doing that. When he did, it was great. So part of that was our first step this year in inviting other owners, to our
Mhm.
program and beginning relationships with them.
I know up in Ontario, when, as I say, when I started out back 2002, 2003, and nobody talked to anybody, and we started the Ontario Cottage Rental Managers Association around 2016, I think, and it just blew us all away that we could actually get together round a table, we could have a few drinks, we could have a meal, and we could share all the things that we all had in common, and it. I think every one of us said that was so great, because we'd been sitting there thinking, I wonder if anybody else is experiencing the same thing. And then finding that, yes, of
Yeah.
course. And we'd get together in September, October after a busy summer. And we'd have a wild bitching session for an hour, and then and then get down to saying, okay, what can we do about some of these things that are happening with guests coming in, and owners not complying with standards. And we just piled in with collective wisdom, and it was game changing. And now I'm out of it. I'm seeing how this association is continuing to grow, and it's wonderful. I love to see it.
That's great. I regret the years that I've missed out, but I'm trying to make up for it. The other element that is great, all of your podcasts are online. And I've gone back and gone through the history, and some are dated and were relevant to that time period. But I have learned so much from your podcast, from other leaders in the industry podcast. Um, it's the Julius's podcast on hospitality is great. I have a lot of drive time, and I'm always listening and learning, and from some great people.
Well, that's a great segue into your last comment on your list, which said, I've dreamed of starting a podcast. Wish I'd started one 5 years ago. I still haven't done it. Ask me again in a year. Well, I'm asking you again in 2 months, since you wrote that. What would your podcast be about?
Well, I do wish I started 5 years ago, or you started how long ago? 8 years ago, or
13
13.
years.
My goodness.
Yes.
So you've stepped into something that you have that legacy. It's hard to catch up on that, and so I think we probably don't need another vacation rental podcast. There's so much content that's out there. But I have thought there is nothing really specifically towards my market, towards Gatlinburg,
Yeah.
and there are loyal followers, and I thought there are stories in Gatlinburg that need to be told about the history of the town. And I want to focus on the limited edition businesses that are family owned, local, specialized, and offer that. So it expands beyond hospitality. But really, every business in Gatlinburg is a hospitality business. So I think there's stories to be told, and I think it would be interesting to kind of do that just on the Gatlinburg market.
Yeah, I believe Caleb Hannon at Stay Lake Norman has started one, but very similar. The travel business is so underserved in podcasting, and I did a presentation at VRMA a few years ago saying, start a podcast. We all should be starting podcasts in our areas, telling those local stories, because and I think, yeah, I'll be following you now,
Okay,
Tom,
now
and pushing you.
I'm
If you
accountable.
need any help.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Amber Hurdle said I'll help you. Matt said I'll help you, and I don't have an excuse, but I realize it is a lot of work. It's kind of like an RBO saying, "Oh, I'll just manage a few vacation homes, no problem. I'll just start a podcast, no problem." No, it's consistency and the drive and the discipline to do that it can't be underestimated. So, hats off to you for 13 incredible years.
Well, thank you. Well, I was in Barcelona last week at the short stay week, and I was interviewed by Paul Stevens from Short Stay Rentals, which is the magazine, great magazine, online magazine for industry news, and he just, I've got all this fancy equipment. He just had his iPhone with a tiny little microphone attached to it, and I'd blown away with how simple it is just to go out, whip out the iPhone, and start interviewing somebody. And you can do that. Just go and interview all your local businesses.
Yeah, I could interview our owners in their homes.
Yes.
And what is your
Yes.
story? Why did you invest here? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is now going out to, the thousand odd people who are going to download this within the first 10 hours of it being published.
How much time do I have? Oh, no.
So you're going to need to follow up. I will follow up with you. Tom, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you. I've had such fun on this. I will look forward to seeing you, perhaps not in Orlando. I believe you have a special event coming up that might have you missing that.
Yes, my second grandchild is due October 21st. So can't miss that for sure.
Absolutely. Might you be in Nashville for the DOM conference in December?
I am excited to hear that is being started up again, and Amy High-Note, so I think there's a strong possibility.
Okay. Well, I hope I get to meet you then. If not, maybe at another
dinner
event
on me for sure. So, and I have been smiling through this entire podcast. It is such a joy to be with you, and you're a champion for everything that we stand for in the industry, and that's not to be underestimated. The influence that you have, and I thank you for that, and such a privilege to have this time with you.
Yeah, the privilege is mine, Tom. Thank you so much, and we shall meet soon.
Absolutely.